We're gonna gather at the causeway. We'll get down on our knees. We give the thanks to Jesus, cause He's meeting all our needs. Come on and gather at the causeway Sundays and lift the Lord on high. Every single Sunday, blessed rains, we're gonna gather at the causeway Sundays, lift the Lord on high. What is that raucous music playing in church? Huh. Like I said, it's about freedom, huh? This is my prayer for those who don't understand the freedom in Christ, that God would open the eyes of their heart. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord, oh Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. Lord, I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. Lord, I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you. To see you high and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. High and lifted up, shining in the light of your glory. Pour out your power and love as we sing, holy, holy, holy. Three words, same word 3 times. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. You should know the words now. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Jesus, holy, holy, holy. I want to see you. Don't stop now, I need you there. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. Lord, I want to see you. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord, oh Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. had a pastor friend of mine talking about, how it used to be you get in church and you're supposed to walk around with that sour face like you just ate green persimmons. We're walking in the way. You sure are. Get out the way so we can see Jesus. Here's an oldie but a goodie. Only changed a couple words. Morning, Mark. Boat rental. Go see Mark when you're ready. My heart belongs to only you. I never loved as I love you. You've set a flame within me burning, a flame to stay within me yearning. It's just for you I want to live. It's just to you my heart I give. I'll always be your slave, my Jesus, through the coming years. There were some times I was doubtful of this new love affair, but now my mind is no more doubtful. I found my heaven with the help of a prayer. You are the song within my soul, a melody that can't grow old. I've known for long my heart belongs to only you. You are the song within my soul, a melody that can't grow old. I've known for long my heart belongs to Good job, gang. Good job, you guys. Good job. All righty. We're still working in the book of 1 Samuel in a series we began to call, that was way back in January, Basic Bible Stories for Adults, inspired by my friend Denny Ulrich, who's no longer with us physically, but he's always in my heart, as he explained to me. He thought eternity was built on our relationships. And it was really inspiring to me because he did it on a Wednesday night. And he was teaching the class with me upstairs at the upper room when we had the office upstairs. And he explained to the crowd, he says, I have a really close relationship with everybody in my family. I have a good relationship with my friend Dave. I have relationships with all kinds of people in the world. And if I should have my last heart attack tomorrow, Dave will always be in my heart, and I'll always be in his. Well, that's been well over 10 years. Denny's right here. It means a lot to me. The sad reality is, the very next day, Denny had his last heart attack. And he went home to be with the Lord, and I was honored to have his wife call me and invite me to go say my goodbyes with my friend Denny. He was a huge inspiration in my life and a great mentor. So Mama Ann is still up in Vero. She's hanging in there. She's got a good family. So that's kind of an understanding that really helped me, because each one of us, we have special relationships, and we should honor those and treasure those for what they are, because they're going to be there forever. And I believe when we get back home to heaven, we're going to know each other quite intimately. It'll be nice. Pastor Bob, let's come up here and talk about Samuel and how the people wanted their king.
Yeah, not that king, although a lot of people do. I know a lot of people in the family that were Elvis fans. They wanted the king. But we're going to talk about a different king today. And happy Father's Day, again, all you dads out there. I was trying to think of a dad story, and there were so many of them, it was like a movie flipping through my mind. All the different adventures I had with my dad and some misadventures, but I've shared some of those. I won't go into all of those. But it was cool when he was spontaneous. I remember they had joined, my dad and stepmom had joined this beach club. Wes would remember where it is. Somewhere about where Holiday Inn was over there, or just north of there. There was like this beach club, and I guess they had a pool or something. And I only remember going there one time. And we went over there the first time and looked around and saw it and walked down on the beach. And there happened to be this guy, he had 2 jet skis. They were like the early, the 70s jet skis, the kind you'd stand up on. And some guys tried to take him some over to the Bahamas, I think, from here. I don't know how that worked out. But I can tell you, Dad whipped out like a $20 bill, I guess it was. And Tim and I were out there on these jet skis for the first time. And I got way out there. It's getting further and further out. And we were like doing figure eights around each other and getting further and further out. And then all of a sudden it died on me. And I'd never been out on one of these things before. I wasn't even sure how to start it. But I remember I kept hitting the button and it was nothing happening. And then all of a sudden you realize you're just kind of bobbing in the waves. And you look, and people on the beach look very small. It was a weekday. There weren't hardly anybody on the beach. Probably my dad and stepmom and the guy that sold the jets or rented the jet ski. But finally that thing, Tim came pulling up by me, and finally that thing fired back up, and it was like, wow, that was way cool. We were in like jeans, and we weren't even prepared for the beach, but that's the way Dad, he could be spontaneous. We weren't expecting that, because 9 out of 10 times, if we would have said, hey, we want to rent those jet skis, he would have said, we'd have told him how much it was, and he would have said no. But it was pretty cool. So you probably have some good Father's Day memories, I hope. Try to remember the good ones. Israel, they weren't having such a good relationship with their father. And it was their fault. It wasn't God's fault. They had become really distant. They kept falling into unbelief. Before we started this series, I kind of in the back of my mind, I guess, I thought that they were going to start straying, further into the history of Israel. But we find it was from the very beginning. Soon as they get to the wilderness, and God delivers them from the Egyptians, they start complaining that there's no water. They start complaining that there's no food. Then they complain at the food God gives them. And they complain about this. And while Moses is getting the 10 Commandments, they're already have talked his brother, the priest Aaron, into melting down their gold so they could have a golden calf to worship. I mean, you have to wonder why God even put up with them. So we saw how the religious institution of the day was going, and Samuel was raised in that environment, but he remained true to God. And it comes about, it says in chapter 8, when Samuel was old, that he appointed his sons judges over Israel, because they didn't have kings, they had judges. And Levite priests were the judges. But it turns out that Joel and Abijah, or Abijah, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, they were judging. However, they did not walk in God's ways, it said. They did not walk in his ways, but they turned aside. And what did they turn aside after, you might ask? Well, what do politicians typically turn aside after? Dishonest gain, and took bribes and perverted justice. And I'm like, wow, that kind of sounds like a lot of what goes on today. not just at the federal level, but at every level, it seems like. You know, if you ever watched Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, that came out in like the late 30s. Wendy and I watched that once several years ago, and I remember saying, my goodness, if in the 1930s, that's how they pictured how corrupt our government was, what is it like today? What is it like today? So all the elders, they get together, and they come to Samuel, and they say, now appoint a king for us to judge us like the other nations. We don't want the priest judges anymore. In effect, we don't want, we're not going to trust God. They didn't say that, but that's what they're saying, because God was their king. They did not have an appointed king because God was their king. God was their ruler. And they weren't happy with this. They wanted to be like the other nations. You ever hear that when somebody's arguing about some law that kind of governs something on a morality issue, and if they don't think they need that moral law, they'll say, well, look at the other nations, Modern nations aren't like this. They want to be like somebody else, always comparing and picking out what they agree with. And we do that when we start looking around and worrying about what other people think and what other people do, instead of getting our advice from the source, getting our wisdom and knowledge from God. They weren't interested in that. But the thing was displeasing in the sight of Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. And he prayed to God, and here's what God has to say about it. Listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, Samuel. Samuel was probably taking this personally, understandably on some level. God tells him, they are rejecting me as their king. They have rejected me from being king over them, like all the deeds which they have done since the day that I have brought them up from Egypt, even to this day. In that they have forsaken me and serve other gods, so they are doing to you also. Now then, listen to their voice. However, you shall solemnly warn them and tell them of the procedure of the king who will reign over them. The procedure of the king. God is about to tell Samuel, this is what it's going to be like to have an earthly king, rule over you. This is what it's going to be like. See if this resonates for you at all the way it resonated with me, because I'm just amazed at the timeliness of ancient Hebrew texts from 3,000 plus years ago and how they seem so applicable to the world today. But you see, human nature hasn't changed. Human nature is what it is. And God tells them, this in effect is what you are signing up for. So before you say yes to something, you might ask yourself, am I ready to sign up for this? This is what they're signing up for. This will be the procedure. He, the king who will reign over you, will take your sons and place them for himself in his chariots and among his horsemen, and they will run before his chariots. In other words, they're going to be in his military. He will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and of 50s, and some to do his plowing and to reap his harvest, to make his weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will also take your daughters for perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take sounds like a bureaucracy is being built here. He will take the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive groves and give them to his servants. He will take 1/10 of your seed and of your vineyards and give to his officers and to his servants. Got to fund the bureaucracy. He will also take your male servants and your female servants and your best young men and your donkeys and use them for his work. He will take 1/10 of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his servants. And I heard, I think it was Alan Keyes say that if you are subject to a government who can dictate to you how much they're going to take out of your pocket and you have no say over it, then you are a serf. And then you will cry out in that day because of your king whom you have chosen for yourselves. Not going to be my fault, God's saying. It's going to be your fault. You're going to reap what you have sown. But the Lord will not answer you in that day. Nevertheless, here's their response. Do they get together and say, we need to pray about this, and we need to ask for forgiveness, and we need to heed God's warning and not take this course we've set out upon? No. The people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel, and they said, no, but there shall be a king over us, and we also may be like all the nations, that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. Now, I skimmed through, I won't say I read, but I skimmed through some previous chapters, and there was just a big battle where the Philistines were set to come down upon Israel and win and destroy, and they said there was a rumbling across the battlefield, and God himself wiped out the enemy. And here they are saying, we want a king to go out before us and fight our battles. Do you hear the lack of faith? And worse, even worse, I think, is the lack of gratitude for everything that God had done and was doing for them. How you want to apply this to today, that's up to you. So Samuel relays this to God, and God says, listen to their voice and appoint them a king. So he sends them back to their cities. Now, there was a man of the tribe of Benjamin, and he had a son, and his name was Saul. It says, I'm not making this up, this is exactly what it says, a choice and handsome man, ladies, choice and handsome, and it turns out he was tall, big guy, tall, stood head and shoulders above the others. And it says there was not a more handsome person than among all the sons of Israel. And he wasn't really known, apparently. Came from a smaller tribe, from one of the smaller or least known families. He wasn't a politician. And he has a job to do. He's got to go out and find his father's goats because the goats had run off. So Saul takes some of the servants and they head out and they look for the goats. And they went to one land. They passed through another part of the country, Ephraim and Shalisha. They don't find them. They pass through Shalim, but the goats aren't there. These goats must have really got around, had places to go. But Saul finally says to his servants, he says, come and let us return, or else my father will cease to be concerned about the donkeys, and he will become anxious about me. Dangerous time in the world. Israel had enemies, and they've been gone for quite a while. So they go out, and finally they ask somebody, and somebody else says, no, we haven't seen your goats either, but there's a man in the city that can probably tell you. So they went to the city where the man of God was, and they went up the slope of the city, and there's these women that are drawing out water, and they said, is the seer here. Seer. S-E-E-R. Wait a minute. I'm like, ooh, that sounds kind of occultish. A seer? Sound like crystal ball and stuff? Well, what does a prophet do? Foretells the future. Exactly. And before they were called prophets, I learned from reading this, I didn't know this, they were called seers. Well, think of that word, seer. A seer. Somebody that sees things that other people don't see. And that's what a prophet is, right? So they're looking for the seer. And they ask the women, and if the seer is there, and he says he is, see, he's ahead of you, hurry up now, for he's come to the city today to have a sacrifice up at the high place. And as they came into the city, behold, Samuel was coming out towards them to go up to the high place. So there seems to be this chance encounter between this tall, good-looking guy looking for goats and Israel's prophet, Samuel. Now, a day before, it tells us, a day before Saul's coming, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. He said, about this time tomorrow, this is how prophets know the future. God tells them, at this time tomorrow, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him to be prince over my people, and he will deliver my people from the hand of the Philistines, for I have regarded my people because of their cry has come to me. When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord tells him, behold, right? He's the guy. So he knows it. And the thing is, Saul doesn't know it. He doesn't really have any idea. So he thinks he's going to be talking to Samuel about goats. So they have the conversation, and the way that Saul is addressed by Samuel seems like Samuel's holding a lot of regard for him, and he doesn't understand it. So he says, am I not a Benjamite of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you speak to me of this way? So Samuel invites him to stay. Just stick around. We're going to have dinner. And then let's go ahead and spend the night. We'll have breakfast in the morning. So the next morning it says that Samuel takes a flask of oil, pours it on his head, kissed him, and said, has not the Lord anointed you a ruler over his inheritance? Well, you got to realize Saul's flabbergasted about all this. He's not a politician. He's not like a famous warrior, somebody that the people would know. And all he knew was he was going about his life and looking for his dad's goats. And now, listen, this is the way it works in God's kingdom. God, sometimes we think things happen slowly. And it seems slowly, and we go about our life. And all of a sudden, maybe you get an inkling, or maybe you don't. But when God starts opening doors, it happens. Right? Just because we didn't see it coming doesn't mean that God didn't already have it planned. What we think are coincidences, I don't believe in coincidences so much anymore. Not so much. Because I can look back and see the unexpected things that happen that led to something else that led to something else. And then you start to realize that God's orchestrated this the whole time. So Samuel tells him about some things that are going to happen. And he says, then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you mightily, and you shall prophesy with them and be changed into another man. You're not going to be who you think you are. You're not going to be who you think you were, Saul. God's got a bigger plan. It shall be when these signs come to you, do for yourself what the occasion requires, for God is with you. And you shall go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down to you to offer burnt offerings and sacrifice peace offerings. And he tells them to wait there at that place for 7 days. You know, when a prophet of God speaks to you, it's worth paying attention. If somebody that God's given you the recognition that there's something really spiritual about them, or they have a role in your life, it's worth listening. Always check in with God, but know that he will work through people. And the more we're willing to give up our own ego and our own idea of the way things should be, right, the way things ought to be, the more we're willing to set that aside and have an attitude of receptivity. Look at the people God's using all through all these stories that we've gone through. From Moses, right, adopted into the Egyptian royalty and kills a man, and he becomes one of the most influential people in Bible history. Abraham was a pagan. Samuel wasn't even supposed to be born. So Samuel calls the people together publicly, and he said to the sons of Israel, says the Lord, the God of Israel, I brought Israel up from Egypt, and I delivered you from the hand of the Egyptians and from the power of all the kingdoms that were oppressing you. But you have today rejected your God, who delivers you from all your calamities and your distresses. Yet you have said, no, but set a king over us. Now, therefore, present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and by your clans. So it's time for the coronation. Isn't that what it is? A coronation. They're going to crown the king. They're going to announce the king. They don't even know who it is. Most of the people don't know. They have no idea. And they're all coming together publicly. And Saul, the son of Kish, was taken. They took Saul and brought him there. Samuel told him, he knows, he's been anointed. But when they looked for him, he could not be found. What? What? Can't be found? What happened to him? Think maybe enemy spy? Did they take him hostage? Something bad happened to him? No, the Lord points it out. He said, behold, he's hiding behind the baggage. God tells them, tall, handsome, good-looking Saul, time to be anointed king, to be crowned king, and he's hiding behind the baggage. He's afraid. But I got to say, what if somebody came and took you today and said, there's some special state law and something happened, I don't know, to the governor, and now we're making you governor today, and you're going to appear on TV and address the state, and you had no idea. You're out looking for goats. And you're not going to be governor. You're going to be king of a nation that's at war and has a lot of enemies, and you're the guy. The buck is going to stop with you. You're going to make the decisions. You're going to command the armies, and you're going to go out and lead them in the battles. He was hiding. I'm thinking he's probably having an anxiety attack. So they ran and took him from there, and when he stood among the people, he was taller than any of the people from the shoulders upward. And Samuel said, do you see him whom the Lord has chosen? Surely there's no one like him among all the people. So they all shouted, long live the king. And Saul, the reluctant king, comes to power. And Saul went to his house at Gibeah, and the valiant men whose hearts God had touched went with him. But certain worthless men said, "How can this one deliver us?" And they despised him and did not bring him any present, but he kept silent. He's already got political enemies. Everybody has their own agenda. God sanctioned this. But there are those that won't go along. Oh no, they're already, probably coming up with their own plans. So what do you think about this unknown Saul out chasing goats, and now he's king of Israel, Israel's first human king? Is he going to be successful? Is he going to increase the strength and might of Israel? Is he going to survive? Is he going to be a good king? Is he going to be a corrupt king? Well, we'll just have to look ahead next Sunday and see how this goes.
You're getting mighty good at these cliffhangers. That's right. It's working. Wow. It kind of reminds me of what I see on the news here. They're looking for a new chief of police for Boynton Beach. Because the other guy got in serious trouble, and everyone's like, not me. No, I don't want to have to deal with that. Only this guy doesn't even know what it was like to have a king of his nation because they hadn't had one before. Kind of think about it that way. What it was like to be the first president. And I know God's making it happen, but he's making it happen because that's what they asked for. You know that a lot of times we want it our way, not what's best for us. Isn't that so? And I've learned to kind of give a little bit of control, or hopefully a lot of control, back over to God. Because my way, every time I get my hands back on it, it ain't pretty. I got to go back to God. So it's interesting that you started out this whole study about what it was like, the leaders that they had, the judges. Dishonest gain, bribes, perverted justice. Can anybody say history repeats itself? Yeah. Hello. Because of human nature. Bob said, natural man is a mess. We don't know what the heck we're doing. We want it our way, just like Burger King. But we don't know what's best for us. We don't get it. The people had rejected God over and over and over. I mean, these are the same people he led through 40 years in the desert, fed them every day, won battles for them, told them to march around cities, that the walls crumbled down. And I don't know if we can trust him quite yet. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm not willing to give it all up. What are you afraid of giving up? I can tell you what the word is: control. You don't want to do it God's way. You want to do it your way because you want what you want. And God will give you what you want. And the cool part about God is he's waiting there for you when you're done. Have you had enough fun, my child? That's what I've discovered. The people reject God as their king. They want him to be like the other nations. Do you hear that in the world today at all? Over in Europe, they do it this way. I hear it about our church. People come to our church, man, I really love what you're doing here. But back at my old church, we used to do this and this and this, and I think we should do it like that. You know what I do? I tell them, I said, you know what? We do it this way on purpose. And you liked it. Why do you want to change it to what you used to be? We hear it. I'm just as guilty. I moved down here from Maine. All you local Florida people, you know, you moved down here from up north and you want to make it just like New York. It's so true. Look around. They're building houses on top of each other right over here on Emerson. You can look out your back door into the people's back door behind you. They're getting top dollar for it because they can make a ton of money if they get 7 more houses per acre. I don't know. If I was spending that kind of money on a home, I think I'd want 10 acres and a little cabin in the middle and a fence. You know what I mean? They demand an earthly king. Burger King. We want it our way. But first, God warned him. I like that too. Are you sure? Because this is what it's going to look like. It ain't going to be pretty. You're going to be ruled by somebody, and there's going to be some major costs. Are you sure you want it? Israel will pay a price for their decision. I'm filling in the blanks on your study sheet, by the way. There's still some left. I only printed 25, and I know there's more than 25 people here. How's that for religious guilt? Where's your pen and paper? But I know some of you really enjoy having them. I actually have people ask me to post them online so they can do it while they're up north watching the video. So I'm thankful for those people that follow. Hi, Joe and Wendy. It's interesting that we do church different for a reason. When we first started up, it was to reach a subculture. That's how we started this church. We went over to the island. We were going to reach a subculture. This used to be a trailer park. And they were going to send me here to the clubhouse to reach the island. I said, you know, I don't think we're going to reach the island. I think we're going to reach the trailer park. But if that's what you want to do, I'm ready to go, you know. But from the very first meeting, I said, I think we ought to be doing it at Archie's. We could ask Patty. She let us in there. Oh, I don't know. Can't do church in a bar. Says who? I talk about God in a bar, don't you? Well, maybe you do. Maybe you don't. I get people come to me all the time. I heard you're a preacher. Yeah. And you sing in a rock band? Yeah. And I love the Lord. You know, I just do. You ought to come check out church. What? You're inviting people to church while you're at a bar? Uh-huh. It's really interesting when you're up there singing in the band and people find out you're a preacher. They get all, you're a preacher? Yeah. Wow. I didn't think you could do both. Why not? Why not? Because we get this little, I have to walk in the way thing. You know what? I am walking in the way of God. He loves me all the time. He gave me a gift. And it becomes a little whisper campaign out there. People are like, you know, that guy's a pastor. He's a pastor. You should go talk to him. Maybe. And you don't know how many people have come up to me and said, man, I really need some help. Can you pray for me? Absolutely. Had my neighbor come to me the other day. I just married him and his wife less than a month and a half ago. Came into the store, tears in his eyes. Dude, I need some help. Rough tumble biker kind of guy. Dude, I need some help. Can you help me? Yeah, what do you need? My wife just was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I need prayer. Well, thank God that we got to know each other. Gave him some encouragement. Dude, I'm here. All you got to do is call. That's why we do what we do. Because we're not here for the building. We're here for you and your hearts. We're here for the people. That's what the homeless feeding's all about. We're here for them. Yeah, there's some people come and they don't even need it. They come in a car and they eat. Stop worrying about what they're doing with your blessing. Bless them and be blessed for doing it. Although he is very tall and handsome, he's unknown. Why would that be? Because he's out in the fields hanging out with goats. Nobody knows those people. I had a friend up in Maine. He was working on a farm all of his life. He wasn't, nobody knew who he was. And he's become a wonderful, wonderful poet. And it's really amazing. I went up and talked to him. We didn't hang out much in school because his name was Sludge. That was his nickname. We don't hang out with Sludge. He worked on a farm. He worked his butt off early in the morning before he came to school. Nobody understood what life he was going through. He was shy. He was intimidated by others. He was afraid to show people that he had this gift of poetry. And he's writing beautiful stuff. I got to meet him and get to know him on a whole different level as an adult, and it's awesome to get to know people on a whole different level. He wasn't looking to be a politician. He was out chasing goats. And on the day of his coronation, he's hiding because he didn't want it. I don't want to go be the chief of police at Boynton Beach. There's got a serious legal issue going on in that whole place, and I sure don't want that job. How about this? Hey, Wes, tomorrow you're going to be the president. Yikes. Really? Can you fix any of that stuff? Hurry up quick. It's scary. Here's what I've come to believe. Like you said, Bob, ultimately, we got to get to this point where we understand that God has it all under control. He has for generations, for thousands of years. He's seen us to here. I have people when this whole COVID mess and all the Biden-Trump mess, and I don't talk politics and all this, but people throwing me videos and throwing me all this information and how God's going to do a great move and he's coming. And you think? I've believed it all along. I don't know how this mess is going to end any other way than God does something. A friend of mine keeps coming up to me, God's getting to do a great thing. He's going to do something really big. I can feel it. God's going to have an awesome move. I said, yeah, I know. That's what he does. Why is it a surprise? That's what God does. Can you get to that point where you begin to understand that as horrible as things seem in my life right now sometimes, that God's got it? He's going to work it out. He knows what's best. If I really truly believe that, isn't it a whole lot easier to give it to him rather than keep control? I want to be my own king. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If it wasn't for faith, I'd probably not be here. If it wasn't for God's love, I know I wouldn't be here. He's the one who sought me out. I was hiding and didn't even know it. That's how good God is. So I'm not sure where you are with your particular faith. Are you here on Sunday? Do you forget about God during the week? I don't know. I'm not trying any religious guilt. Don't believe in it. I believe, well, I guess I do believe in it. I just don't live by it. I believe that if you want to pick things apart and figure out how you're going to do it best and be your own king, God will allow you to do it, and you're going to get really, really frustrated. But the Spirit brings life and liberty. Where have you always wanted to live in your life? Life and liberty. What more could you ask for? The freedom that comes with truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And when you're free, nobody will be able to put shackles back on you again. Nobody. No matter what they think they're doing, nobody. So my prayer today for you and for so many people that won't seek God, how about that? Or think they know God and don't. Father, the prayer of Jesus is the simplest one I know that works. Father, please let them understand that you and I are one, and that they are one with us, that we're in unity, that we can live together and find a life that is awesome, that we can live in a relationship with a loving, caring father, brother, sister. We don't have to keep being offended. We don't have to keep running and hiding. We don't have to keep fighting our own battles. But God, help us to give it to you, the Father that we've always needed, the Father that we want to be like. Father, help us to realize you have it all under control. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. We're going to go out on a couple of tunes. I think some people, I've heard it said, number one, is I'm great that I finally understand that I'm a friend of God, and God is a friend of mine. He's the best friend I'll ever have. But a lot of times I'll take a worldly song and I change the words because I think it reaches people on a different level. Hey, I recognize that song, but the words are so different. We do that on purpose too. There was a band called Redeemed, and we used to take rock songs and change the words, and we'd say, well, that's the same song, but we've redeemed it. Bigger than that, God redeemed it. And he used it a lot in recovery circles, and it was pretty cool. So strike it up there, Mr. Maestro.
Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? Is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me?
What is it?
It's amazing. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. So are you. I am a friend. He calls me friend. I am a friend of God. He said I am. He calls me friend. He calls me friend. Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? And is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me? It's amazing. It's amazing that I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend. He calls me friend. God, he said I am a friend of God. He calls me friend. He calls me friend. He calls you friend too. God Almighty, Lord of glory, you have called me friend. God Almighty, God Almighty, the Lord of glory, you're the Lord of glory, and you have called me friend. God Almighty, God Almighty, Lord of glory, you're the Lord of glory,
meet people that, just go ahead, I know there's a long intro there, Mark, so I meet people say, he's probably really too busy to be understanding that I need help right now. No, you are his focus, just like I am. He's bigger than all that, way bigger. Here's one of them songs you're going to recognize, but I did change the words, sorry. This is kind of the way I understand my God. What? Jethro Tull at church? In all this shuffling madness, Lord, I need your breath. It's feeling like I'm losing, and I am so distressed. Well, I feel my strength is waning, sweat breaking on my brow. Lord, I know you hold the handle, but my brain won't stop racing, no way to slow down. I feel I need to jump off, spinning way too fast. And Lord, I don't know how long my home strength will last. Well, I'm crawling down the corridor, I'm on my hands and knees, and I pray, dear Lord, please save me, 'cause my life, it won't stop racing, no way to slow down. Yeah. Silent hours I spend in prayer with you. I trust your spirit in me to show me what to do. Well, I'm picking up your Bible, and you said it was your word, and the world can go on racing, 'cause my life is so much better now that you're my Lord. Yeah, now that you're my Lord, now that you're my Lord, now that you're my Lord, I'm so glad you're my Lord, now that you're my Lord, now that you're my Lord. Get it? Yes. Whew. So, enjoy your Father's Day. It's going to be a beautiful day till about 3. And it'll still be beautiful if you don't go inland. So, glad y'all came out. The website's always up and running. If you miss a service, you can catch it on our website. And I'm trying to remember to post it on Facebook every week, too. So for you guys up north, God bless you. Have a great Sunday. Over and help us with the